Curious George, the curious little monkey. Here he comes, as happy as can be. Curious George, the curious little monkey. Why is he curious? Well, let's go and see.
Curious George delivers the papers. Has the newspaper come yet, George? Asked the man with the yellow hat. George opened the front door and looked out. There was no sign of it anywhere. Sandy always delivered the paper on time, but today she was late. As usual, on the corner was the stack of newspapers waiting to be picked up. George went over to look at them. What would it be like to be a paper boy? George was curious. Quickly, he ran back to the house, got his little red wagon, and rode it down to the corner. He untied the string around the stack of papers, loaded some of them onto the wagon, and started up the street. At the first house, he folded the paper, then he threw it up towards the porch. But the newspaper fell apart. The pages flew all over the lawn. George folded another paper and threw it up to the next house. This time, it got stuck in a tree. George kept on going. Being a paper boy was fun. One paper landed in the middle of a rose bush. Another landed in a bird bath. Finally, Sandy arrived at the corner to pick up her papers. "Where are they?" she asked. "Somebody has taken most of them." Just then, the delivery man drove by in his truck. "I left all of them right here," he said. Up the street, papers were flying all over. "Somebody's playing jokes," said the driver angrily. "Get in the truck, Sandy, and let's find out." George had almost finished his paper route. There was only the big apartment building left. He was just about to go in when the truck screeched to a stop. "There he is," cried the driver. "It's a monkey. I'll teach you a lesson." Then he jumped down to catch George. George was scared. Where could he hide? There was that big apartment building. He leaped as high as he could and disappeared. "Where'd he hide?" asked the driver. "We can't catch him now," said Sandy. "Well, we'd better clean up this mess." She started to pick up the papers. "What am I going to tell my customers?" she asked. Just then, George peeked out from the balcony to see if the coast was clear. Sandy looked up and saw him. "George," she cried, "so there you are. What are you doing away up there?" "Wait a minute. I've got an idea. Come on down and take the rest of my papers. Now you deliver them." How good that George was a monkey. He climbed from balcony to balcony, tossing a paper at each one until all the papers were delivered. Now the job was done and George climbed down. But just before he reached the ground, the delivery man rushed over and was about to grab him. "Now I've got you," he shouted. "You're not going to get away this time." "Wait," cried Sandy. "George did take my papers, but he turned out to be a real delivery boy after all." "He sure did," shouted someone from his balcony. "Hooray for George," shouted a woman. Soon everybody from the building came out and cheered. "Sandy," said the driver, "I'll get you some more papers to finish up." "Let's forget about the mess you made," he said to George. "When you get a little older, maybe I'll give you your own paper route." George waved goodbye to Sandy, and off they went. There was one newspaper left. George brought it back home to his friend, the man with the yellow hat.